It's no secret that the world is filled with unusual and mysterious objects and beings. As humans, our curiosity has led us to discover more and more over time. The Middle East especially is filled with so much history that it's no wonder we continue to stumble upon new artifacts on a regular basis. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at 3 interesting discoveries. Al-Nazla. Saudi Arabia is a beautiful country with a long-standing history. Many travellers head there to explore and unearth ancient stories and discoveries. Al-Nazla is no exception. It's located in the Tamar Oasis and is one of the most photographed petroglyphs in the area. Petroglyphs are ancient works of art, often left on rocks, and are found all throughout the globe. What makes this petroglyph different from the rest is its unique slit that divides the rocks perfectly with naturally flat faces. It doesn't simply look like the rock split in half, but instead it appears it's been sliced perfectly in half by a laser. There are also small, naturally made pedestals on the bottom of the boulders that hold them up, and no one's quite sure how long they'll stay standing. One of the most noticeable petroglyphs is that of a horse. No one can be sure what was being communicated, but it's always interesting when we recognise images dated well before our time. Another aspect that makes this rock formation unique is that it's smooth on one side and jagged on the other. It's not too surprising that the elements had worn down one side of the rock. This would smooth it out, but it still doesn't explain how the even split came to be, and how the rocks are supported by such small pedestals. It continues to confuse tourists, researchers, and archaeologists, who remain uncertain of how the rocks originated and what their future will look like. In order to understand the future of Al-Nazla, we must look to the past. Some experts suggest that a tectonic shift from beneath the earth and under one side of the rock caused it to split in two. Other theories consist of theorizing that the split of the rock is a fault line or erosion over time. Beside those theories, there's been speculation surrounding the possibility of a supernatural explanation. Conspiracy theorists have suggested aliens are responsible for cutting the rock in two with a laser. People have found it challenging to believe it could have occurred naturally due to the precise split, which in turn has made this explanation seem somewhat plausible. With that being said, there's no conclusive evidence as to how this rock formation came to be. That leaves us with so many possibilities and the potential to unearth other reasons as to how this laser-like split happened. Do you believe it occurred naturally? Or would it have been impossible to split so evenly at a time with no technology or methods to cut the rock in half? We may be a while away from finding the answer, but for now we can enjoy the beauty and mystery it brings to Saudi Arabia. Archaeologists in Egypt unearthed dozens of unopened coffins buried more than 2,500 years ago. Next up is the very recent discovery of 27 coffins found in Egypt's Saqqara pyramid. The news was confirmed in September 2020 by officials excited to spread the word. Saqqara is a World Heritage Site just outside of Cairo and has been an active burial ground for thousands of years. 13 of the coffins were found earlier in the month, approximately 11 metres underground, and another 14 were discovered in a nearby well just a few weeks later. The origins of the coffin are still unknown as archaeologists continue to work on finding that information. While the discovery of over 24 coffins is a tremendous find, it doesn't come as much of a shock. In fact, 30 ancient wooden coffins were found in 2019, as well as a range of mummified animals at Saqqara. These recent discoveries point to the possibility of many other coffins that have yet to be discovered in Egypt. This particular area was known as a burial ground, so it wasn't the discovery of coffins that caught archaeologists' attention. Experts were drawn as to how well preserved the coffins were. The sarcophagi have remained unopened for over 2,500 years and is decorated with ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. Some still maintain vibrant colours despite being underground for such a long period of time. As each new discovery arises, we find ourselves learning more about the Egyptians' history and culture, which is enthralling to archaeologists and experts seeking answers. These revelations provide hope into those looking for more information, as we're slowly but surely revealing moments of the past we once knew nothing of. Archaeological discoveries have been the forefront of tourism for Egypt recently, and they've set out to conduct more excavations in order to attract more visitors. The violence and political turmoil have greatly affected tourism to Egypt. Despite using these findings as a way to draw more people to Egypt for tourism purposes, we're continually learning more about the past and what the lives of people from that time period were like. Whilst we still don't know the details regarding the preservation of these coffins over thousands of years, we're on the way to finding out. It's most definitely interesting to think about how we've evolved as humans and where technology has taken us. With that being said, it never hurts to look back at the past to learn new lessons, adopt new practices, and use that for making positive changes throughout the world. We may not have all the answers yet, but every little bit of information counts. 120,000-year-old footprints found in Saudi Arabia. The last discovery we're going over today also took place this year. Hundreds of fossilized footprints have been found near an ancient lake bed in a desert in Saudi Arabia. They've been said to potentially indicate evidence of the earliest point of human movement in the area. Upon discovering many footprints in the area, researchers had to figure out who or what the footprints belonged to. Footprints from horses, camels and elephants were pinpointed first. This begged experts to question whether or not any footprints could be from humans. Although many animal footprints were first discovered, 7 human footprints were also identified. Experts explain how footprints are a unique form of fossil evidence because they capture a moment in time that can't be found among any other forms of evidence. Even though these footprints haven't been 100% confirmed as a human, evidence of Neanderthals moving through the area suggests they must belong to humans. There's no other explanation that experts could think of, so they've confidently been identified as such. After investigating the footprints, archaeologists have stated that the footprints show human migration from Africa to Levant. Researchers believe the humans who have been stopping by for water for a place to drink and rest during a long trip after reaching dry conditions and becoming unsure as to whether they'd next be able to stop for water. Aside from the discovery of human and animal footprints, were many animal fossils that were found. The evidence in lake sediments point to the animals congregating around the diminishing water supply. What's also interesting about this discovery is that after being told that most non-African people who are alive today have ancestors that left the continent roughly 60,000 years ago, this discovery may prove otherwise. Some researchers believe that small groups of Homo sapiens left Africa thousands of years before the mass migrations to other parts of the world occurred. So what did this mean to the humans of today? We may have some more digging to do when it comes to our history and understanding where we came from and when the mass migration happened. Do you think they were human footprints and that our history will need to be rewritten? We'll have to wait it out as experts continue to analyse the footprints and form new conclusions. After taking a trip to the past through just recent discoveries, it's clear we've only just begun to learn about our history as a species. Our ancient history dates back much further than we can imagine. There's always something new we can learn. It can be overwhelming to consider all the possibilities, but it's exciting to continually find new pieces to the puzzle. So what do you make of these fascinating discoveries? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community whilst working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.
Discretion is advised.
Some viewers may find this disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ben&Grem Show. It has been long anticipated, you could say, but we are here. Better late than never, Grem, wouldn't you say?
Yes, apologies, everyone. I've had this awful situation with a laptop. So anyway, it's rectified now.
It is, and that's the most important thing, because no matter how far you're pushed back, you just keep on striving, don't you, Grem? That's the way it is, isn't it? Just keep on going.
It is. I'm getting a lot more grey hair, so a lot more grey hair.
Yeah, well, that's great, because grey hairs always happens, especially when you're getting old. But, you know, don't worry about it, because, you know, we all have to be there at one stage in time. You know, it's part of life. Grem, we have a few viewers in. We'll just mention Lee. Nice to see you, Lee. Not see you physically, that's impossible, but nice to hear from you is more the point.
It's nice to hear from you, Lee. Who else is with us?
Indeed. Grem, so we've got a bit of an action-packed evening this evening, haven't we? It's the Ben&Grem Show. We are back. It's Sunday evening. It's the 4th of October. Where's this year gone, Grem? Where has it gone?
It's gone extremely quick. This is unusual, isn't it, with the lockdown and that we've had. You expect it to be a lot slower pace mentally.
Indeed.
No, it's gone extremely quick.
It has caused a lot of mental distress, hasn't it, this lockdown? Is that what you just said? Lockdown?
I can't remember now. Why?
No, I think you just said something about lockdown. You might not have done. Yeah, so Lee Turner, he says in the chat, in the YouTube chat, the Ben&Grem Show chat, he says, where are you? Well, we've already discovered that we had a few issues, didn't we, Grem? So we're back, we're here, we are rock and rolling, we are taking care of things, and the show will continue. Grem, should we hit the first subject of debate?
Yes, please go ahead, Ben.
Okay, well,
It's your
it is indeed. And yeah, this is an interesting one to start with, something a little bit different, something which, if you're interested in astrology, I think that's the word to use, then this will be right down your street, because this is about asteroids. Okay, folks, and this is something that appeals to everybody in some way or another, I think, because it's a mystery, isn't it? Space is a mystery, wouldn't you say, Grem? And, you know, we always want to know a bit more about it. And there's so much to know. And what we know about space is it's never ending. And there's always things we're finding. So with that said, let me get straight to the subject, shall we? Indeed, Grem.
Yes, yeah.
So the moral of the story is with this subject is that an asteroid will fly close to Earth, and it's going to be suggested that it has been suggested that it's going to fly closer to our satellites. The United Kingdom and the rest of the world will hopefully, or not, maybe depends on which way you look at it, see an asteroid. Quite significant, wouldn't you say, Grem? It's quite a worrying story. It says, I mean, I can divulge, or would you rather want to pick up on that?
Well, I can pick up. It was due to happen on the 24th, so it's happened.
Yeah.
So and the NASA actually discovered it, didn't they? In Arizona.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Accidentally, they were just like skimming these stars, and then they came across it. It's a bit worrying, really, if you think about it. They just happened to see it like a few days or so beforehand on the 18th of September.
Yeah. Well, it's a bit of a worry, isn't it? I mean, we know, don't we, that certainly if anything comes into the Earth's orbit, that usually, or generally, we should say, it burns up, doesn't it, from the Earth's atmosphere? And usually we don't hear about it because it happens all the time. But to actually suggest that something's going to, you know, come within our satellite region, which is quite a scary thought, that's within the ozone layer. That's within, isn't it? Directly within danger, I think you could say.
Well, it's not too far from it, is it, Ben? I believe it's 13,000 miles above, just outside of that area, and our satellite communications are even further, as you mentioned.
Right. I've just got a bit of feedback from Graham. Hold that thought. I've just got a bit of feedback from our good viewer Lee. He has said, sadly, he cannot hear Graham. Okay, well, I can't hear Graham. Let me just, I know why you can't hear Graham. Hold your horses. Hold your horses. No. What about now? Graham?
I can hear you. Can anyone else hear me?
Maybe. Graham, we'll work this out. We will work this out. We will work this out. Graham, won't we?
Yeah. We've got to work it out.
I think we have. Still nothing, he says. What about now, Graham? What about now, Lee? Graham, why don't you sing us a song?
Well, no one will be able to hear it if they can't hear me.
No, I suppose they won't, will they? What's the point in that? Sing a song of sixpence. I don't even know how that goes. Can hear something now. I think, Lee, you can. Every time our Gremster is talking, I can see a bar moving. So I suppose we're on the right lines, folks, aren't we? Thanks, Lee. We've had a number of problems tonight, haven't we, Graham?
I know. I mean, we both updated the Zoom because it needed, otherwise it wouldn't operate. And then mine would not load up. But I'm talking to no one at the moment, aren't I?
No, you're talking to everybody, mate. You're live. You are liver than you've ever been. You're alive, Graham.
So they can hear me now. They can hear me now.
Yes. Until otherwise, yes. Lee has certainly got you on his ears. We are good, I think. So where were we, Graham? Let's get back to the subject. So we're talking about asteroids, aren't we? And so what we know, of course, is that it's already occurred. Okay, NASA has reported that we have had a close call, you could say, or should we say, within the satellite regions of our ozone layer. And it's the object was known to be 2020 SW. What does that mean, Graham? That's southwest, isn't it? Will fly just 13,000 miles above the Earth's surface on the 24th of September. So we know that's already happened now. But 24... Yeah. No, I said 13. 13,000 miles, Graham. That is very close, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very close because as we stated earlier, I don't know if I was heard, our satellite communication systems are a lot further than that.
Yeah.
So it is a worry. The size of the asteroid, though, Ben, was apparently a size of a small bus. So
a small what?
Like a small school bus.
A small school bus. Oh, big enough, isn't it? I wouldn't want that coming down on your head, would you? Well, actually,
but if it did enter the atmosphere, it would break up and explode into fiery pieces and disintegrate, and nothing would happen.
Well, actually, interestingly enough, Graham, I think you got a point there, Graham, because I think what we need to just establish here is when we talk about Earth's atmosphere, when does the Earth's atmosphere start? Are we talking within 13,000 feet? 13,000, did I say miles? Miles, Graham. Are we talking 13,000 miles? Is that the point of where the Earth's orbit or atmosphere, should we say, starts? Or is it within that? I'd imagine it'd be closer, wouldn't it? I don't know. Maybe somebody in the chat could bring us up on that. Bring up some more information on that.
I believe it to be 13,000 miles from that point.
Right.
So it's quite a way, but in astrology terms, it's extremely close.
So technically, it may already have
apparently.
Right. So it could have already burnt up then, Graham, couldn't it? Really, if it's already in that area, you know what I mean?
It's circling. It will basically reappear again, but not until 2041.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's well. Keep
On
your eyes
the
peeled.
24th, though, then on the 24th, when the event actually happened, it should have been noticeable within the United Kingdom. I believe around about 12 noon.
Wow.
I never saw it.
I didn't, but didn't it? But the report, Graham, the report suggests that it flew over the Arizona, America. That's where it was being observed. The trajectory of the asteroid was actually noted in Arizona. That was difficult, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's where they found out that it was heading this direction.
Yes, exactly.
It would have been noticeable over in the United Kingdom on the 24th, around about 12 noon.
Yeah.
But it's just going to do like a circle, and then as it does, and then come back round in 2041. So,
well,
I don't know if you're going to be out there watching that.
Look forward to seeing it, Grem.
2041.
Grem, I would want to just bring you to our next topic, because I think, if I'm honest with you, I mean, what more is there to say about an asteroid? I think we've covered it, haven't we? Do you think? Would you say? I don't know. What does the viewers think? That's the most important thing. So what have we got next?
Oh, well, it's me, isn't it? Get on to the point. Right. Oh, my gosh. Anyway, Simon Cowell. We like to bring up Simon Cowell every now and then, don't we? Basically, he's been asked by his management team that obviously he heads to do with Britain got talent. That's correct, isn't it? Got my words all jumbled up tonight, guys. Due to his continuing recovery of his broken back, which was caused by an accident trying out a new toy, electric bike.
Right.
Both his children were present, and his wife was at home. This happened at Los Angeles, where his main home is. So he's been asked not to attend, basically, the special version in October. So that won't be going ahead. Also, one thing I've researched was I didn't realise he was 60 years old. That's quite. I suppose money keeps him young, maybe. But he's with a younger lady, so maybe that helps out big time there. Despite so far though, he has earned through his TV corporation and Britain's Got Talent. He's actually earned just over £37 million. So that's not a bad figure, is it? Nice little bit of pocket money, Ben, don't you think?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not every day you come across somebody who's worth £37 million, Graham, is it? I mean, but quite honestly, broken back or not, I think he can actually give out work, couldn't you? I mean, he obviously loves it, because he would have given it up previously, when I think it's fair to say he's earned something in the region of just a few million. But then not everybody does it for money, do they? Some people enjoy doing it for nothing. Don't they?
Exactly, mate. Exactly. I mean,
fancy breaking your back, though,
getting back to his end. Oh, I know. Well, that's it's good you brought that up, because the next point on that is he came really close to being paralysed. One of the doctors, the surgeon was actually saying, one more centimetre apparently, and he would have been paralysed. He broke his back in 5 places and had to undergo an overnight operation, which lasted just over 6 hours. His wife was partner, was present the whole time. So it's quite concerning. But they have got a backup plan with to do with Britain's Got Talent, and diversity's star Ashley Bang. Is it Banjo? How do you pronounce that? Yeah, he is expected to basically fill in for Simon for the special show in October, which is quite interesting, really. I don't know if anyone's got any point of views on that. He's quite a likeable character. I think he'll do quite well.
He knows his stuff, doesn't he, in the industry of music, certainly. And I think he will be missed, maybe, but then there'll always be somebody that will come in and fill his place. As the saying goes, Graham, nobody is indispensable.
Exactly. And
money talks. But yeah, talking of money, and Lee says, and he refers to something I said earlier, which was when I said that, maybe some people, Graham, like to do this for nothing. And I think it's fair to say, for the moment in time, he's absolutely right. We do like doing this for nothing. Yeah. We do like talking to people for no reason. Is that the right way to put it, Graham? Or do we just like talking to ourselves? But actually, that's not entirely the case, is it? Because we do have a bit of a following. You know, it's not all that bad.
We are getting now experience from this as well. So we're learning every day. I've become so much more confident. With working with a chatterbox like my good friend and host Ben.
Well, thank you very much.
He's helped me out big time. You know,
always comes as a pair, right, Graham? Graham, just want to mention. You talk about broken backs, Graham, and on that subject, do you remember the conversation that was that came about around Michael Schumacher, the Formula One Ferrari driver that was historically known to be one of the world racers of all time, along with the likes of Damon Hill and otherwise. But anyway, mustn't waffle. Okay, let's get to the point, Ben. So Michael Schumacher, he had a skiing trip some years ago. I don't know if you remember the story, Graham, and he had an accident, didn't he? And he was in intensive care. I actually also believe, I think he was in a coma. But he came out of it, great to hear. And similarly, like the recent story of Simon Cowell.
Very touch and go, though. Very touch and go for him, wasn't it?
Not good. Yeah. Not good. I mean, do we know what's happening with him now? Do we know? Is he good?
No. I've got no idea. We're going to have to maybe report back on that. That'd be quite.
Well, maybe somebody in the chat can help us out with that. Maybe someone can come back to us on that. Definitely. What do you think, Graham? Yeah. Interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Broken backs. I mean, can you imagine just what it'd be like to be paralysed? I wouldn't even want to go there, would you? It'd be awful, wouldn't it? It'd be awful.
I know. Not nice having to have help to wash the dress and use the toilet, and it can't be very nice.
Well, Graham, thank you for sharing that story. I think it was very relevant to this evening. It keeps us all in the loop. There is always news to be heard, isn't there? And backs are important. You've got to look after them. But it does actually bring us furthermore onto our next topic, Graham, because, and I'm sorry to say this, it does involve Brexit again. Brexit, not breakfast, Brexit. The worst case scenario, I suppose you could say. That's always the case with Brexit, isn't it? Worst case scenario. Worst case post-Brexit lorry havoc scenario for Kent, as revealed by Michael Gove to House of Commons. So we've had a lot recently I would say, Graham, haven't we? Over the course of the last few months, we've heard of possible Operation Stacks. In fact, we know that happens anyway when the situation becomes somewhat congested. We've heard that there's been a number of options to the government as to whether to build lorry parks to make it easier for people to get about. And what we do understand is now with Brexit on the horizon is that there has been talks, Graham, of mass congestion towards the port of Dover for vehicles travelling with freight through into Dover onto the continent. And that's all due to customs clearance. Now, again, I'm going to say it depends on who you speak to with that. Yes, it is a real fear. Yes, I understand that there should always be a concern around this. But before I go into the topics much in depth, I will say I do think that some of it could be considered somewhat political because of some experience of which I've had, not just I, but I'm sure others can also refer to in the line of industry. When we talk of shipping, freight clearance, there are a number of different ways in which documentation can be created, and there's not necessarily any need for any hold-ups on documentation circumstances alone. A lot of it nowadays, and that's been some time now, has been electronic. So actually, just a couple of buttons need to be pressed, particularly from the customs point, for others to then become cleared, and then they can get on their way. So I think if it's talking of traffic, I do accept, and it's fair to say, Graham, that there will be potentially more traffic on our roads, given the fact that we would be able to do trade with more countries outside of the European Union or the European zone. And with that said, does mean, yes, and essentially there will be more customs clearance. Now, that's not a wrong thing to say. That's absolutely the case. So could we be saying that there could be congestion based on the fact of more traffic? Possibly. but certainly not necessarily, I think it's fair to say, around the formalities of customs clearance, because the formalities are already in place. The formalities were already in place prior to us leaving the European Union. So we'll add to that point. And I'm sure if there's anybody in the chat who wants to pick up on that, they're more than welcome to, with equal or if not just a little bit more experience than I on the subject, because it's a very interesting topic. And again, I say political Grem, and I'm sure it's very genuine. But I do think that actually, let's not panic.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think there's any need to panic, because it was a few years ago that it was discussed that that part of the process of registering your deliveries, etc., and entries was going to be minimised. It was going to be made less of an issue. And they was also earmarking back then as well certain sites for lorry parks. At present, in Astriod, they are building a major lorry park at the moment in time. It's being built.
Yeah.
So that's the only one at present that's being built at the moment. But there is about 3 other sites that they're looking at, I believe, as well, to build on.
Well, the thing is, Grem, is I think, I agree that is one way, I think it's fair to say, to minimise the impact of the excessive amount of traffic, which we might expect when we leave the European Union. But let's just say this, though, Grem, is regardless of the customs formalities or even actually parking facilities, what we've got to also do, I think, and it's something that I've heard from others around society, if you wish, is we need to look at driving regulations, driving bans. For example, what I mean by this is if you take Europe, if you drive through France, if you drive through certain parts of France, and I'm not even sure if Germany or Belgium hold the same similar rules, but actually at certain periods of time within a week, there are no driving allowed for certain vehicles. So, for example, the United Kingdom could actually say, well, on a Sunday there should be no freight, or on a Saturday there should be no freight, to minimise the impact of congestion. I mean, it works for Europe, it could work for us.
That's probably part of the plan that is not really spoke about. If you think about it, there's probably a certain limit that actually are registered to come in at any one time anyway during the day. And I suppose when firms, corporate companies that put those orders in for their lorry drivers to come over from the continent, and the same from the UK over to Europe, they would have to give an estimated date, wouldn't they? At least they would have to give the exact date that they will be travelling. So there must be a certain percentage of vehicles that are, if you'd like to say, allowed to go and come, because the government has to make sure that of road safety and, the local communities, etc.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
7,000 vehicles, 7,000 lorries, aren't they?
That's right. Yeah, we're talking lorries, aren't we? Small goods vehicles, maybe lorries,
all the way
maybe
from London to Dover. That's if you think about 7,000. That's the.
But what I don't understand is when they say that, though, Grem, about 7,000. And hello, Lisa. Lisa's joined the chat. Nice to see you, and I hope work's going well. Lee, I just mentioned as well before I pick up on my point here, Graham, Lee says he feels that actually we could lean back to the former process procedures upon how we cleared customs clearance documentation prior to, and I think he means 1992, because actually during that process prior to 1992, we used to do customs clearance documentation for every country that wasn't a member of the European Union and also within the European Union. So actually the system is already in place. It just needs to be reverted back to, and the system is there. This is my point here. But this is why I get frustrated, Graham, and I'm sure you do too, because media, and when I say political, I come to the point by saying, well, media, or let's say the government has said that actually Brexit could cause problems, but actually it's got nothing to do with Brexit. Why these problems might occur. They might be completely other reasons as to why. It could be infrastructure, i.e. I think road infrastructure, I think could be another issue. I think we could be looking at, yes, lorry parking, Graham, but let's just not forget, we have moved a long way in customs clearance over the last decade. We have got electronic, as I said earlier, Graham, we've got electronic documentation now, which can be accessed across any continent. And with that said,
that's been talked about a few years ago as well.
But it already works now, Graham. It already works now. I mean, I know customs clearance agents now, but yeah, they use it now with particularly the UK and Switzerland. I'll give one example. They use it now. It's the T1 documentation system. It's just a barcoded system. It's electronic. And so that's just one way to transit document. A transit document, which is just one way in which goods can be moved. But then you've got other documentations like TIR carnets, which again, as we know, are similar documentations to like the T1 documentation, but they are used for countries like Turkey. And Turkey are, as we know, at this current time, not part of the European Union. And so they are going to be similarly like us. But that does not mean so we cannot do a trade. I mean, the trade documentation formalities are there. It's just an update to a system that already exists pre-92. And I'm sure it'd have modifications.
And the government also are releasing, within a few weeks, a new website to help ease the issue to do with companies and corporates.
Yeah. But I think we're a big player, Graham. Yeah.
It will work. It will work. Yes, there's going to be teething problems, but as stated in the research that Ben's done on this, that the relevant areas have been looked at heavily, and they've made it a lot simpler as well. And the website is meant to be extremely easy to use, a quick response, and they've also are meant to be employing a lot more custom clearance officers, or if that's the correct.
Spot on, Graham.
Yeah, I don't know if they're actually called officers or personnel. But
agents, customs clearance agents.
Yeah, agents. Yeah, agents. Oh, it's quite close. I think officers.
Yeah, you got customs officers, which are those that check documentation that the customs agents have prepared. The agent, should we say, on shift, and then the agent's documentation will go to customs. They would be lodged with customs, and then customs, when the vehicle arrives, would then be processed. And at that point,
the customs officer basically has the most responsibility because they're doing the physical visual checks.
Yeah,
what you mean, isn't it? And then the agents are there to help aid that process.
Yeah, and if there's any documentation issues, any faults or queries, referred to as queries actually in the subject of the matter, then they alert the agency and then they amend it.
Sorry to interrupt. About a year ago, when this was originally discussed, I believe the government was they were pushing out a figure of 50,000 of these agents. Now the relevant minister was asked that question, but he didn't give a direct answer. So, I mean, realistically, everyone, we're probably looking at between 30 and 50,000 agents, probably. We'll just have to wait and see. But as long as there's a lot more than what there is, is the process.
Yeah, and, there is. There's
out.
Well, Graham, you're right. There's hundreds and hundreds of agents up and down the country that do documentation for vehicles and goods coming in and out of the country. But I do think that certainly I think one thing we could do as a country, as a government, could put driving rules into place. And like I say, driving bans. That sounds a bit strong. But I think they could put driving regulations in place, which would then allow, and in some cases not allow, drivers or driving preparated goods to be used and transported at certain times. So, for example, I think, like I say, France,
they were going to bring in the passport system to do with Kent.
Yeah,
but it's only been talked about in brief. It's been talked about in layman's terms, if you'd like to say. It's not been talked about in depth at all.
No,
but I think that is the reason for that is. Well, what I interpret it as is to make sure that the flow of traffic is at a reasonable level, as you just stated, Ben.
Yeah.
To know exactly how many lorries, for example, are likely to be on a specific road at specific time or through Kent, because that area of the United Kingdom obviously is they're going to either the docks, aren't they, or the Channel Tunnel. So we need to make sure that the county of Kent is not gridlocked, don't we? So yeah, they do need to put in those necessary procedures to aid that. I think it needs to be explained more though to the public. Damien Green as well, he's picked up on an issue. He just wants to make sure that all this, plus lorry parks and the necessary requirements within customs areas, are all going to be ready and up and running on the 1st of January.
Right. Well,
and he wants the government to assure people of that, and that's his own colleagues he's talking about. You would have expected someone to know more, wouldn't you? It's not down to hit. What I mean is, you would expect someone from the same political party to know maybe more than what.
I think they do, Graham. I think, they're very fickle politicians. I think they do know exactly what they need to do. I think they know as much as I've just suggested, along with the likes of Lee and others in the chat. I think the fact is they do know what needs to be done. They do know there's not going to be any huge concern around the matters. However, they make a thing of it simply because it buys them time. It doesn't give them any opportunity then to commit to anything. So I think a lot of these politicians do know that actually we're okay in all this. Not being funny, Graham, if you don't mind me saying, if the viewers don't mind me saying, but if somebody like me can work in a day-to-day Monday to Friday job in a ship as a shipping clerk and know what I'm telling people now, then there's no reason why a politician wouldn't know that information, right? Because I'm assuming, well, it's quite clear to me that a politician would have put regulations in place and procedures in place for customs to work on, for customs to use, for agents to follow. So quite honestly, governments do know. I think they're just playing games, Graham. And I think governments need to get on top of this.
It's all about trying to obviously keep hold of your position, isn't it?
Of course. It's, yeah.
I understand.
It's like media, isn't it? Media will jump on any politician for any opinion, won't they?
And they will twist things, and they won't actually give you the full picture. And they won't elaborate where they need to elaborate. So
that's correct.
You know that you get your mind thinking.
So a moral of the story is, Graham. Yeah, I honestly, I think you could be any far wrong there. I think you're absolutely correct in what you're saying.
Well, the moral of the story. Yeah, the moral of the story.
The moral of the story. We're leaving the European Union in January, and all's going to be well. And let's not blame Brexit for any pile-up in Dover, because quite honestly, what we do realise also now is regardless of Brexit, we've been having pile-ups in Dover for years. Yeah.
Oh God, can you remember? What year was it? Was it 20?
Within the last 5 years, I'm sure.
2017 or 2016. 26 weeks, I believe we had of operational staff, and it was thanks all down to striking in France. But did once our government at the time, I don't know, ask for some sort of money's worth for it? Because
no.
I believe it hit a trillion or something pound in lost revenue for the country.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
No,
that's just it, Graham, isn't it?
We've dealt with it before. We
do get pushed about.
They've made it less complicated to apply for these special visas to get through to Kent, and they've got the necessary extra personnel to aid with that, haven't they? So I don't believe it's going to be a problem. But the government did pick up on one issue that they. From polling companies, they feel that about 70% of our companies aren't ready.
Well, I think, Graham, I don't
understand.
No, I don't understand either. But I think one thing I can understand, I suppose, is that you're always going to get negativity when it comes to Brexit, when it comes to politicians, simply because it means that we know, have to take accountability for running the country, and no more excuses. Like for example, many a times I've come across even in local government, regardless of local government, but in general government, you'll hear the excuse come time and time again that it's a European Union regulation. And so we can't do anything about it. But actually, that's not going to be the case anymore. So they know that actually they're going to have to run the country because that's what they're there for. And it's going to be interesting because we're going to see how they do it, aren't we? And when they don't do it, we're going to get them out and we're going to put somebody else in, Graham. That's how it works. That's democracy. And so we're going to start seeing democracy in action. And that's why I think mostly people are afraid of Brexit at the high end of business, because they know that actually they've got to work now. They've got to put the country back on the map. And that's what they're not comfortable with.
We've had a discussion before, haven't we?
We have.
The politicians are actually going to have to be a politician. They're actually going to work. They're going to have to
exactly.
work
exactly. Yes, exactly that.
Easy. Way too easy. Haven't they? Anyway, we're going to be moving on to something that...
We are. And just to finish off on that topic, Graham, Lisa says to build the industry back up. She's right. Yeah, you're following the key there. You're following the tones, Lisa. Yeah, to build the industry back up. We need to build our country back up. We need to build our position in the world. You know, we need to start seeing things made in Britain again. I mean, because actually that's what life's all about, right? Why aren't we a player? We are a player. We're not a player that we used to be. And so let's bring ourselves back to the prosperity and the position in which we used to be and be that third, just even the first biggest economy in the world. Why not? We can do it. Why do we have to see everything coming in from China? You know, it's unnecessary.
We can work with it. We can work with it.
We can work with it. There's no reason why we can't.
We've been there. We've done it.
It's all up there. Up there for thinking. Yeah, up there for thinking, down there for dancing, Graham, isn't it? Might never matter. Yeah. No more socialism, Graham. That's what we need. No more socialism. Sorry, I had to get that in there. No more socialism. Graham, next topic, Graham. Next topic of discussion is, and I'm really looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to this for the last 2 weeks. All right, Graham?
Hit the button, mate.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Pointless news.
Pointless news. Yeah. Well, it is a bit pointless, this one.
Am
I doing this? Graham, am I doing this or you? Because I've opened the subject tab and I've been waffling away for the past... I thought it was. Right, I'm glad you said that. Is it me or you? It's me. Right.
No, it's good. Pointless news is you, as I said. Pointless news is...
Points of view. Right. Yes. Did you know, Graham, pointless news? One more time. Please, can I do it one more time, Graham, for the viewers?
Yeah, please, yeah. Keep you happy.
Pointless news.
Right, thank you very much. I've got it out of my system now. I'm sure we'll have another go later. So pointless news. First topic of the pointless news is when the Niagara Falls ran dry. Bizarre, isn't it? You would never have thought that would have happened. Well, seemingly a natural wonder of the world, the destination on the US or US-Canadian border has been subject to human meddling for years. This is the story. There's been plenty of dramatic stunts over the centuries over local hotel owners that have sent cargo and ferries and animals and all sorts through in 1827 through the area of the Niagara Falls. A survey conducted in 1969 that in that year the US Army Corps of Engineers turned off American Falls. How did they turn it off? Am I missing something?
Well, they basically...
Say again?
How did they turn it off? They had to build a dam, a temporary dam.
Of course they did.
I think it was to the west.
Yeah.
So to obviously cut off the water supply. Can you imagine the amount of water?
Oh, yeah.
You must be talking millions of gallons.
Millions and millions. Yeah. Well, actually, I can be more specific on that, Graham, because actually nearly 76,000 gallons every second over the 11-storey drop, the Niagara Falls. 76,000 gallons, Graham. That's like, that's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, every second. And they will be doing that again, probably in the near future, because they are going to be doing, what are they going to be doing? If you get to that.
Well, why do you want to close off the dam anyway? I don't get it, Graham. Am I missing something? I mean, it is after all.
Well,
It is after all.
Because of the pressure of the water, they've got to drain it because they need to place into some pedestrian bridges. I believe they want to do, and so that's planned in the future. So to make that happen, they're going to have to do the same again and if you'd like to say, erect a temporary dam to cut off the water supply, so they can get that done. I mean, the reason why they cut it off before, though, it was due to great big boulders, wasn't it? That obviously come down over the years, and it was causing some issues. So that's the reason why they had to channel the water away, so they basically could drain it all out. Dry it all out, great big hairdryer. Imagine a hairdryer. How big would a hairdryer have to be to dry an iron ball out? Not funny, is it?
To dry the dam? Are you talking about hairdryers?
Drained.
Oh, I know. Okay, that makes sense. You'd be there a long time.
Yeah,
I don't think it would make a difference. You might warm the water a little bit, but I can't see you're going to make a lot of difference to 76,000 gallons. Grem?
But they had to do that to remove the boulders out of the way. So that's the reason why that was done in 1939.
Right. That's interesting, isn't it? So even back then, when technology was scarce, they were able to do such a massive thing, like draining a dam. That's a fantastic thing, isn't it? In 1937, did you say? That's quite good, isn't it? I mean, I'm not saying people were a little bit silly back then, but I just think...
1939.
What time was it?
Yeah, the boulders boulders apparently were that big.
Right.
It took half of the, so you got the Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
The boulders were quite high, so they had to drain the water to be able to remove them.
Yeah. Well,
the pictures. The pictures we'll have to edit in somehow later.
I think we will. We'll put it in for the viewers, won't we?
It's amazing.
Grem,
the view is amazing.
What about the next topic then, Grem? Yeah, before we flush out our viewers with Niagara Falls, flush them away. Next topic.
Oh, it's a double pointless news.
It is, and this is an interesting one, Grem. Is it you or me? I should have checked that. I think it's you, isn't it? Me? Yeah, it is me.
Winding me up. I tell you what, you're deliberately winding me up.
I am. He is. Ben is winding up Grem because it is me. And with Pointless News, topic number 2, we talk about something that's, I think, scared many people in society for many years, with the idea of mobile phones and your TVs and your general digital gadgets. More the time has come for people to start worrying about AI intelligence. And when I say that, I mean robots, because robots have now come to fruition. A robot is in our hands, essentially, but there are talks of technology going even further beyond the realms of possibility. And I mean robots taking over our daily work of life. That's quite worrying, because if robots can replace us as human beings, Grem, what does that mean for us? Where do we stand in all this? Do we have to monitor those? Do we then become the managers of these robots? Do we have, I suppose you could say, Grem, think of it like this. We have a robot, yeah, an AI. He goes to work, or she, depending on what you consider it as, all right? You'll take it to work, and it will do the work for you, but you're responsible for its actions. So you have to program it. That makes sense? So yeah, it does the job.
It's all done by the technology. They've created a program, obviously, for the system, haven't they?
Yeah.
To work.
Yeah. But you get paid, though.
If you think about it, of course you would get paid. You must get
not the robot, because it's not like you're going to see him down the pub, is it? He ain't got a stomach, for one. But my point is, Grem, is you need to, so do you know what I mean? So you might not then need to do that hard graft, because the robot's going to do it somehow, because you're going to tell it to, and it's going to listen. I don't think it's going to work, Grem. I don't think we mean it literally. When we talk of AI and robots, Grem, I don't think we mean robots walking around, do we? iRobot. Do you remember that? That was a good film. I think we just talk of computers, because computers essentially are robots. I think it's really what the subject of the matter is. And computers are doing more and more for us every day of the week.
We don't end up wanting a Skynet situation, do we, in Terminator? So.
No. Well, no, not really. Lisa said she's too scary, Grem. She couldn't trust AI intelligence. No, it's. I think it's good for fun. I think we've established that, haven't we? Mobile phone, smartphone technology, your gadgets, if you're a gadget fan. As you'll know, Grem, I myself, very much a gadget fan. I've had some gadgets over the years. But I think when it comes to serious matters and livelihoods, I think we should leave them separately, because can we trust them? You know, systems go down, don't they? And even though robots...
These robots, though, that's in discussion. They're trolley robots to do with restaurants, and they've been
That's correct.
Basically created by a South Korean telecom corporation, KT Corporation. So yeah, apparently they can actually serve up to 4 tables at a time. So you order your food, and you know, it was obviously it's planned to go into whatever direction, because it will know the map out of the restaurant, so I know where to go.
Yeah.
They designed a program called SLAM. I'm going to have to. I've got it written down. Simultaneous localization mapping. Yeah, and mapping. Yeah, that's what it stands for, SLAM.
It is, Graham. And just to elaborate further, it says, and you talk about the restaurant, and you're absolutely right, and this is where something has developed with the AI technology, and it says that the artificial intelligence, AI, has been able to deliver food to customers at a restaurant in, is it Seoul? In order to minimise human contact and help ensure local and social distancing. So actually, it's come into effect because of social distancing rules. So in effect, well, what we do know is a robot can't give anybody a virus. Maybe you can catch lead poisoning, depending on what the subject of the item is made of. Probably not lead. That would be dangerous. But my point being is you can't get any cold or virus or flu, certainly. So, or even COVID. So
as long
makes
as
sense.
the individuals actually stocking up the robot trolleys are vetted properly and checked.
Yeah.
You know, before and after.
How can you vet a robot? Because surely to vet a robot, you've got to vet the human that's running it. Yeah. It's the human that's controlling it.
The human who stock up the trolley, so it's them.
Right.
And the virus can stick to many different. It can stick to anything, can't it? It can live on material, metals. So it's still a possibility, as long as the necessary precautions are taken by humans themselves. Then it's a good. I think it's a good idea in that respect to do with AI.
Well, just to back up your point there, Graham, on your great idea, on the belief of being a good idea, and I will confirm that it's been suggested that the robots themselves can actually deliver up to 4 tables at one time. That's amazing. So
it is amazing.
Busy night at a restaurant? Not at all. This robot's got it, because it seems to me like that makes sense. No COVID-19 worry, and you can get your food quicker than the person next to you.
Exactly.
How would it do that, though, actually, Graham? I mean, if it's going to deliver 4 tables at a time, I'm assuming that all the tables are together, right? Unless it's got excessively long arms. How's that going to work?
It's just a trolley, isn't it? Basically, it's got a mapping system, as we stated, called SLAM. Simultaneous. You're making me say it again now.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Location. Localization and mapping.
Graham, it's not a human robot. It's not a human robot, is it? It's a trolley. I think we established that earlier, didn't we?
It might have a face. I don't. When we was actually researching the topic, it didn't actually come up with any photos. So, but one thing we could have done was Google it.
I think we'll say it had a face.
Yeah, it's got to have a face, because you just don't want to be looking at a trolley.
Yeah, well, Graham, I mean, that summed up the pointless news for this evening, hasn't it? Quite clearly, constructively.
news. We've got some more pointless news coming, though. Not
Later
now,
on.
but
No, not
further
now.
on.
Later. But let's just say
Exactly.
we can't do a show, can we, Graham, without pointless news? Because the show wouldn't be the show without pointlessness. It has to have a bit of pointlessness in it, doesn't it? And I'm pleased to say that we've had some, and we'll get you some more in a moment. This is pointless news because I didn't even need to tell you that, because you would have got it anyway. Because eventually, when we got to that stage, you would have seen the pointless news again. So, anyway, let's get on to our next topic, Graham, shall we? I think we should. Didn't we not? Should we not?
Which isn't pointless news. Yes, why not? Anyway, it's about the autumn budget.
Okay, what have you got for us?
It's been decided that due to coronavirus, the normal time the autumn budget would be released is now not going to happen, because they had to take into consideration the financial and possible tax changes in doing an autumn budget. And with the coronavirus pandemic we're going through at the moment, which is changeable, and the different amount of monies that are going out here and there, it's difficult for them to give a direct, truthful, factual position on it. So that's the reason why that's not going ahead. But it is feared by some MPs as well on both sides of the House, that the Chancellor does have the powers necessary to do overnight tax rises, which is a bit of a concern to a lot of people, because we don't want anything and everything just chucked on us with just a few moments' notice. It needs to be planned properly, and we need to be forewarned, don't we? So that's not going ahead. A spokesperson for the government has said no one wanted it to happen that way, but it's been the best course of action. They do believe the Chancellor has shown creativity in the past and up to present to do with his handling of the financial side to do with coronavirus. So they do believe that he's done his best. He's been quite creative, and they're hoping that he's going to be able to continue with that, which is a good thing, to have that faith in your colleague. And I believe the majority of the country are actually, you can actually honestly say, are possibly quite behind the Conservative Party at the moment, which must be hated by, or disliked, or detested by a few people. You think, Ben?
Well, I mean, opposition's always going to want to find something against the government, regardless of who the government is, aren't they? And naturally, that's their job. That's what they're there to do. They're there to put pressure on the government to ensure that they do the right things by what they consider is the correct way to do things. That was a mouthful. But I think what we do know, given everything that's going on in the climate of 2020, is that regardless of all the difficulties that we're having in the economy and in our way of life, that actually there's been a lot of unity. I think we all know that COVID is not a political thing necessarily in the way that we deal with it. It's a matter that we just have to, in the way that we are, we all have to pull together. It's I would hate to think it's political, but that's a conspiracy, and I don't think that's correct in any case. But let's just say, let's take COVID for what we know. We've all got to work together. We've all got to do what's necessary. Graham, I just want to say, because one of our viewers has just come in and he's mentioned about his daughter, has said that his daughter wants to do a uni degree in chemistry. Now, I'd like the hearing of that, because just think, Graham, I mean, when we talk about Brexit, we talk about leaving the European Union, we talk about building up our economy and the budget and so on and so forth. One thing we want to be hearing is people wanting to go into industries like like your chemists and your doctors and your nurses. And these are the sort of areas that people necessarily don't get involved with, maybe from home. I mean, what we do know over the years is we've had people coming in from other areas of the world to study in the UK and also become part of the UK working system, but yet we don't tend to see too many of our own people willing to want to take that on, although we know it happens, and we should be advocating that in our schools and our nurseries and so on to get people to be homegrown But don't you think, Grem, how much of a good thing that is to hear? That we've got Lee here that says that his daughter is looking to want to go into chemistry and doing application forms in process of that, which is fantastic news. And good luck to you.
Good. Yeah, it's amazing, and I'm really pleased to hear that.
No, it is. It's really good news.
I wish I could do. I would love to work in like medical science myself personally.
It would be interesting. It's a very interesting thing to get involved with.
Because you get to help people with specific viruses and etc.
Yeah.
You get to really look into the whole topic through a microscope, and you get to like obviously work with designing of certain medications. So it's quite an interesting world.
I think it's an interesting thing, isn't it, to have an idea about medication in the sense of what maybe you might need in any situation. A friend's not well, and you could suggest something because you work within that field of involvement, and yet so you would have a good basis of knowledge, wouldn't you? And I think not so much maybe as a GP or a nurse, but I think you are kind of an arm of them in a way. And interestingly enough, you will know enough because of what you're prescribing. I think it's fantastic. Yeah, it's a great job, and good luck to your daughter, Lee. But Graham, I think the other thing about the budget is, and I want to add, because I did come off that slightly, and I do apologise for that, guys, is that we talk of the budget and we talk about, pulling in the belt, tightening the belt. And I'll say that although that's probably necessary, we could, and we have heard this already, Graham, haven't we? Heard of a recession. It's quite worrying. I mean, nobody wants a recession. We saw one in 2008 and it caused a lot of problems, particularly with the banks. We don't want a recession these days, but I think, again, we might have to. It's just because we have had a stop on the economy, haven't we? We had a stop on things. Things slowed, and naturally we need to regain the money lost, don't we?
It's been a planned process, isn't it? I mean, a lot of people would say, just shut down, but at the end of the day, what people need to realise that every country is a business, and businesses need money to be able to survive. Whatever government's in power at the time, their main priority is to keep its individuals and visitors as safe as possibly can, and with its own people. It needs to be able to contend with the possibility of medical services, etc. And you need money to be able to do that. You can only borrow so much. You can't just continuing in borrowing. So that's why they possibly have had these lockdowns and like half lockdowns, if you'd like to say. And in the Pacific areas of the United Kingdom, they're having some mini lockdowns, and we've got at the moment from 10 o'clock every evening, isn't it, until 6 o'clock in the morning, they're actually requesting people to remain at home and not mingle too much, which will help and ease the situation slightly. So,
I mean, just talking on the subject, Graham, about what we're talking about, we're talking about the government and tightening the belt a little bit, and of course we've heard about the budget, which we know about already now because it's come about. But what we also want to talk about on the subject as well, and it is in line with the budget, is Rishi Sunak, because he has suggested within government that actually we should maybe follow a wage subsidiary similar system to which the Germans follow, and that is is let's start again. The system is to enable businesses to be able to take subsidiaries, to be able to take government-funded, state-owned or state-run loans. Does that make sense? Yeah, it did make sense. So what do you make on that, Graham? Because I mean, that's one way to deal with a situation of hardship, isn't it?
No, I think it's probably the best way to go. And they have actually selected a German system which has been proven to be really successful.
Yeah.
And France has a similar system as well in place. So, and I believe that was looked at as well. And they sort of come in between and design something for our nation. Fortunately, our process in dealing with financial situations is extremely similar to Germany and France. So the system that they've had working, which has been successful, is likely to hopefully be successful for us.
Yeah.
But some companies, though, are actually suggesting that the government continue to do more by the increasing of loans, which what they're doing, that they're not increasing loans, making sure that the loan system is loan plan is still operational, and to add other areas to it as well, other bits add on top of keeping this new system that they put in place.
Yeah, I mean, just to further divert to the subject, and Graham, you're absolutely right what you say in the subject. I mean, you pointed it out really clearly. I mean, just to follow on, I mean, it says here that the Prime Minister has obviously these new restrictions, call them that if you wish, to announce that to help underscore the government's commitment to supporting the economy over the coming months. It said that, or has been suggested that more than 57 billion. I'll correct myself. More than 57 billion has been borrowed by companies since March this year, with the Treasury guaranteed 80% of the value of the loans, and that's what we talk about when we talk about the furlough scheme. And then it says, however, 3 of the programs were too close to the new applications at the end of the month, while the 4th, the bounce back scheme, which gives banks 100% government guarantees, was due to expire at the start of November. So the sources indicate that the replacement of the furlough scheme could be a stage or a sign as a centre stage as part of a new and wider project scheme. So Grim, I mean, we do know that, you know, I think it's fair to say with the subject in mind, we can't be furloughed forever, and there are companies out there that know that, and the government knows that, because it is money. I mean, we're trillions of pounds in debt, aren't we, in our national treasury? And you know, I think we do have to stop somewhere, and yeah,
that's
I think
the new system is going to replace, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff.
Good work. It's interesting, really.
Yeah. Well, Lee,
I believe it'll be.
I think it'll be a good sign, won't it, Grim?
I do.
It's a way forward, and we have to go with it, I think, given the times. Lee says it's been done before. He says it's been done, and it was a link to nationalisation programmes. The problem now is that we no longer own anything. That's correct in what he says there. And he also says schools have been sold, local authority buildings have, council houses have, etc. Yes, absolutely. Renationalisation isn't a bad thing. I think it's fair to say it's in public ownership. It's in companies and people like us can have a say and have more control. However, if they've all been sold off, like we know the Royal Mail and so on, and private housing now much a thing, that is an issue, Graham, isn't it? And we need to buy things back, and that could be another step in the direction of Brexit. It could be another thing we could look at in renationalising not just the railways, but also, you know, our general public areas, you know, restaurants, food outlets, business industry. Yeah, put that Great Britain back on that stamp.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually.
I hope so. I'm sure we all do too. But Lee, thank you very much for that point. Yeah, very, very much the case. And who's to say that these chemists aren't British? He said. That's an earlier point, Lee. Thank you. Yeah, well, no, they're not. Of course, they are and they're not. I mean, of course, it's mixed. I mean, that's the point here I'm making, is that, you know, when you talk of nurses in hospitals and NHS and services and things like that, you get people coming from various different countries, India and otherwise, that come over here and study, and great that they do. And we should have that system in any country. And yet they then work in that industry or environment. But there was always a calling, wasn't there, from some, you could say, that we're not training enough of our own people. I mean, when I say our own people, I mean people are people. But when we talk about our own people, we're talking about, you know, British citizens, born British citizens. You know, it seems that actually the knowledge is or has been brought in from elsewhere. And as much as that's good, it needs to be balanced. And I think it's great when you hear somebody who's been born in the UK who wants to work in nursing or doctoring or chemistry or chemists. I think it's fantastic. It's great to hear it. And I think we need to advocate that. It's the same with policing and careers. We need to see and wish to hear more of it, don't we, Graham?
We do. We certainly do.
Yeah. So I hope that answers the point, Lee. And I get your question there because actually you're right. Who's to say they aren't British? No, absolutely. They will be British, surely, because they'll be living in the country. Of course, they will be British, but ultimately that's on the basis of citizenship. But that's not to say necessarily that the majority are English British or Welsh or Irish British, necessarily, or Scottish British. But you get my drift, Graham. Graham, isn't it time for our next topic, or are we going to continue? Guys, what do you think?
Yeah, next topic. What's the next topic? I know what the next topic is.
You do?
Don't you?
Good, because I don't. Hold your horses. Why do people say that?
News. Pointless news, Mr. Gray.
I thought it was. I'm only playing. Yeah, it was. It was pointless news. And we are back to pointless news. I look forward. Hang on a minute, guys. My sound's gone off. I can no longer hear myself or you, Graham. Hold on a moment. I knew this was going to happen. Graham, we're back. Can I just say something, Graham? Okay, right. The funniest thing is, the sound came back on the moment you said, and that is the moral of the story. Oh, that is brilliant. Graham, you're fine. You're working now. Lee's going. Sorry, Lee. Well, thank you for hanging around.
Thank you for joining us. Yeah,
thank you. Huge pleasure, as always. What do we do now, Graham? Because we were really getting onto the topic there, and we have lost control.
Let's get this straight for me to understand. So, has any of the boys gone out?
Has any of the...
Have they actually heard me? What I've just been saying?
No, I don't think so, because Lee said something about he couldn't hear you either, and it was only until I managed to fix the problem on my end, which then happened in the point of when you said, Graham, you said something about, I don't know, it was a closing point. I can't remember what you said now, but it was a closing point. So anyway, what did you say? Tell the viewers.
Well, I will say now, I will say now, I am not going to be repeating point 9 and 10. I've done them. So
let's move on to point 11, Graham.
I have to wait for the end.
So what point are we on then, Graham? Now? Pointless news? Still?
What am I doing now? I've just done your 3 points. No, I've just done 3 pointless news.
Right, yeah. I know where we are.
Pointless news.
Right, anyway, sorry about that, folks. That was really frustrating, wasn't it? And another story, pointless news. Graham, parrot interrupts football. Practice in a football practice that took part in Brazil. A parrot interrupted the game and landed on the player's head. Graham, I mean, parrots, are they that brave that they will... Say again?
I've done point 9 and point...
Well, I don't think you have, because actually the viewers didn't hear it. So actually, it's up to you. We can carry on.
Did you hear what I actually said to you? I didn't hear it.
No, I didn't hear it. Oh, this is brilliant. All right, well, Graham...
I assumed that you would do that.
I didn't hear it.
You said I'm not going to be repeating point 9 and 10 again.
Oh, that's 0.9 and 10. Right, hang on. I didn't even know you said... So it must have been when you were silent, Grem, that you said 9 and 10. 9 and 10. Okay, so let's do...
You told me to take over, continue.
Well, you're talking about Halloween then, Grem, aren't you?
How can I take over this show? How can I take over this show and continue with those 2 points if you actually knew that no one could play well with me in a bloody birthday?
Well, I didn't know that until I knew that I could hear you. Anyway, I did that. Anyway, Graham, do we go back over 9 and 10? Or do we go straight to 11, which is yours, which is Halloween safety? I mean, it is that time of the year, isn't it? That's up to you.
We're going to mine. We're going to 11. I get 11. Parrot and that.
A parrot, yeah, go on then, Graham.
No, 0.9 and 10. 0.9 was about the parrot interrupting the football match, and 0.10, both pointless news, about some silly lass who decided to lean out of a car window while snapped her.
Right.
Luckily she was okay. Don't really want to have to go through them again. Point 11. The government has stopped short in basically ruling out trick or treating in specific areas of our nation. Specific areas that have local lockdown. So in those areas, children it's recommended that children do not, under no circumstances, take part in that activity due to coronavirus, attending people's houses and handling basically, sweets and cakes as treats. So in those areas, request that they do not do trick or treating. Now, the trick or treating in areas that are not under certain local lockdown restrictions are okay to go ahead, but it's imperative that everyone adheres to the rule of 6, and in certain cases they will be probably introducing a rule of 4. And just to double up and to make sure that you double up your distancing, social distancing to people, maybe even wear certain PPE as well, like gloves. You can get different coloured gloves for children anyway, some funky coloured gloves, luminous gloves, and it will all help cut down the risk factor. So that it's good that in trick or treating can still go ahead in safety means. Just got to be careful. Got to remember your social distancing and keeping to the rules of it. So that's that basically. In that part, the Department of Health have so I'm just gonna apologies. 1 to 3, take 2. Or 3 to 1, take 2. Right, the Department of Health, Social Care have basically said in areas that are not able to socially mix households, like as I was mentioning about the specific lockdown, they will basically be due to take the necessary precautions in making sure that the hand hygiene, etc., is up to scratch. That makes any sense. I've lost I've dropped down like a line on my writing. Yeah. What do you reckon, Ben? Get me out of this hole.
What I reckon? Well, Get you out of this hole, he says. And he's looking very, very
I'm looking at you. It takes you
serious.
ages to say something.
Graham, what do I think? Well, I'm gonna say I can hear myself now. Say again. Did you say something, Graham?
Can you hear me or not?
I can't hear a word you're saying. Say it again.
Can you hear me?
Yay! I can. What a gent. Right, yeah, I can. What do I think, Graham?
Do you feel basically the cook or treating should go ahead wherever, or do you feel that if you have young children, it's best just to knock it on the head this year and forget about it? Have like a mini party at home just for your family, within that unit, instead of opening the door, because you don't know if you're going to be opening the door to someone that is possibly a carrier. Some people, they will not know that they're carriers.
So knock it on the head, a bit like Christmas, Graham.
Oh, this Christmas lark, and not many people go out gallivanting about anyway. They normally just spend it with the families that they live with in the house.
That's
Only
true.
a small amount of people that might sort of like venture out a little bit to relatives so many miles away, but you have to make do.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we're only talking like a few days. We've had to put up with 3 months of a lockdown as it is, and etc. So
Well, on a serious note, Graham, what do I think? Well, I think honestly and truthfully, people should still be able to go out and exercise the freedoms of Halloween. Are we still talking about Halloween?
yeah.
Yeah, of course we were. And on that subject, Graham, as long as, and I think the rules aren't they, about gatherings up to no more than 6 people. I think if you go out with somebody, just social distance. I can't see why it's a problem, as long as, you could wear a face mask, because quite honestly, you're going to wear a mask over the top, right? So you're not going to notice the mask anyway. So no, I think it's fine. Go out, have fun, dress up. Don't go out in any more than numbers of 6, and enjoy yourself.
And obviously, there's a lot of problem solving involved in this as well. If you're out and about with your children, and there's 6 of you, you come to a corner, you walk around the corner, and then you come across more families out, then you need to obviously either cross the road or take yourself away from that area slightly until they pass, so you can move forward. So it's just common sense.
It is, absolutely, Graham. I agree.
But we are talking about the British public here.
Well, we can't say too much about that, can we, Graham? Really?
No.
Best safe not to.
Yes.
Lee says bye. He's off. Bye, Lee. Ciao. Farewell, and all the rest of it. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Sorry for folks for viewing such an awkward situation or two that we did come across or stumble across, but we got through it. Always do, don't we, Graham? It worked out all right in the end.
Indeed.
Rome wasn't built in a day. In fact, Rome wasn't built in years with us, was it? I don't think it ever got built.
Exactly.
I don't think Rome ever became built.
My bladder is actually filling up. I think
Well, that's really interesting, that, Graham. We have had a wonderful time. I think it's about time we wrapped it up, Graham, isn't it? And we've had...
Wrap it up. You don't have to wrap it up. Do you want to wrap it up? Why do you want to wrap it up?
I don't want to wrap it up. Do you want to wrap it up?
No, it's just that...
I thought you said something about your bladder. Okay, well, let's continue. Well, let's continue.
My bladder is filling up.
Well, look, Graham, we're not far away from finishing the show, and so we may as well carry on, and I'm fully agreeing with that. Let's just say then...
Okay, so we're in the sports section, Mr. Glazer.
We are indeed on the sports section, and that is starting with me.
Yes.
Good.
On my sorry to interrupt, on my notes here, my writing's got extremely small. Please bear with me when I come back with some bits. So yeah, carry on. It's about Chelsea, isn't it? Chelsea fans. Chelsea fans are in meltdown?
I don't know, because the link's broken. It goes from bad to worse, Grem, doesn't it?
Well, if I give you some points on it, and I know that you would have viewed it anyway, and it's football, so you know about football, so you'll be fine. Basically, Chelsea fans are in meltdown at present due to their side actually being 3 down in score with West Bromwich
Albion.
Albion. Yeah, so I've got that down there, and also Chelsea have recently spent as well during this period of time, during this summer transfers, rather largely, haven't they? So yeah, does that help out, Ben?
Not really. Say
Right.
again, Graham. You said something about transfers. Say that again. You said something about transfers.
Yeah. Thing is, it's football. It's not my area, is it? But I am trying. Okay, let's start again. Chelsea fans are at the moment in meltdown due to their side losing a match 3-0 to West Bromwich Albion. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, Chelsea, the Chelsea Football Club has recently spent big time as well during the summer transfer window. I've not pulled up any names there, so I'm hoping that you might know of some names. And also they've had a new signing to Chelsea from Leicester, which you might know about.
From Leicester? They had one from Arsenal. No, they didn't. They had... no, they didn't. They had one leave Chelsea.
No, they did. No. They've had a transfer, a new signing, from Leicester.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, but they did have in the summer transfer window. And I said I didn't write it, but you just said it. Yeah, Arsenal. Yeah. But I can't remember the player's name.
Willian. He left Chelsea to go to Arsenal.
Yeah, and then they actually.
I don't know, folks. Maybe someone in the chat can help us out. Who did they bring in the summer window?
Your link working now? The link.
No.
Oh. Never mind.
No. Hang on.
Let's move on anyway to point 13. This sport is still sport. I think actually now we're going to do these sports sections quite regular. I think it's a good idea. Like with pointless news, where you got the pointless news. Maybe you can actually create a sound bite.
Soundbite news. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Sound bite news or something. Yeah, or sport.
Sports section.
Anyway, the next point is about boxer Amir Khan. There's reports of him leaving with his family the UK to go and live in Dubai, which is, a nice place to live. He's got the money, I suppose. He's got the money.
Yeah.
He's an Olympic silver medalist, as everyone knows. Only 33 years of age. He looks a lot older than 33.
Well, so would you if you'd been beaten up.
That's what I was getting to. Beaten up on a regular basis.
Well, yeah. Can't be good for your genomes.
So old then.
Can't be good for your genomes. Ah, well, Graham. Yeah. No, it's because I'm always staring at the sun. That's my fault.
Oh. Yeah, you're out in all weathers, though.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason for.
I worked in customs clearance for a few years.
Yeah.
It has that effect on you.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, 33 years of age. He regularly visits Dubai for holidays. yeah, I'd quite enjoy that. Would you like Dubai? Would you like to go to Dubai at some point? Take the Ben&Grem Show to Dubai?
I'd love to, but it's rather expensive, isn't it, to go to Dubai? I think, you know, you've got to have a bit of wealth behind you to go to Dubai. I think even to go out there for a few days. But yeah, I mean, of course, it is an interesting place, isn't it? I'd like to go out there. Yeah, we have a message coming from... Yeah. Yeah, indeed. We do have a message come in from our previous point, Grem. Shell has said that they brought Chilwell in from Leicester.
Right.
So, yeah, Ben Chilwell. Yes, yeah, English defender. I couldn't even think, Grem. I couldn't even think. Thank you very much, Shell, for that. And,
yeah, thank you, Phil, for that. That's appreciated.
So, where were we? Where did we get to?
Well, I'm still on the sports story to do with Amir Khan. Basically, Amir Khan has taken to local. I think it's no. He's reported to the report as well to do with the saying that he's actually going to be living in Dubai, moving to Dubai. It's an untrue story.
It's about a daughter, isn't it, Graham?
Daughter?
His daughter. It's about his daughter, isn't it? Something to do with his daughter.
No.
His daughter, I think, wants to go to school in Dubai.
What link have you gone by?
Right,
You
okay,
got
well...
into Command?
Yeah, Amir Khan, there's a news that's reported a 30-year-old is looking to move to, in the coming months, with his wife, Fayal, I think I pronounces, 2 daughters and 4-month son, Mohammed. Apparently, so that the elder daughter can start her new school year in Dubai. So that's the reason.
Yes, no, that is what's being reported.
Yeah.
But Amir Khan has basically told the Bolton News that these reports are untrue. He's only going there with his family to look for a holiday home.
Right.
Not to move out there, because at present they are filming their own reality TV show.
So can I just hold you there? Hold that thought, Graham. So what's relevant right now is...
Pointless news.
And that's to the media, because the media got it wrong.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do that.
The media, it wasn't just one media corporation either, was it? It was
No,
2 of them.
it was. Well, what can I say?
Yeah.
Interesting enough, Amir Khan, that's a name we haven't heard for a while. Yeah, boxer, well known. Very good as well, wasn't he? I remember when he first came on the scene. He was an interesting character, very, very successful, wasn't he? He was one to watch, and I think it's fair to say he's had a good one, hasn't he, career?
Yes, and he's quite a likeable character. Yeah, he's genuine, he's down to earth, he's nice, he's a nice guy. At least we're not losing him, at least he's staying in the United Kingdom, and...
Do you think he is? A likeable character?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't he be?
Because he gets punched all the time.
Never judge a book by its cover, Graham.
You look tired then.
So, next topic, Graham. Jose Mourinho is convinced that Ali will stay. That's Dele Alli. And we're talking about football again. And hopefully he's hopeful on Gareth Bale to join the club. Now, Gareth Bale used to play for Spurs before he went off to Real Madrid, and there's a good chance he could come back. And I think that would be quite a thing. I think, you know, if Dele Alli plays alongside Gareth Bale, I think that'd be quite a force. I'm sure the Chelsea fans would be worried about hearing that, and I'm sure the Spurs fans would be rather enlightened to hear about that, Graham. Wouldn't you say?
Yes, I do. I think it'd be good. It'd be a good thing, mate, if that could happen.
He does love the club, doesn't he, Gareth Bale? And I think I think he would go back. I wonder if he. I mean, I've not really seen much of him, Graham, in Spain in Spanish football. I mean, I did sort of watch him a little bit when he first moved to Real Madrid, but I mean, how is he going? I mean, do we know? Does anybody in the chat know how Gareth Bale's coping out in Spain with obviously the climate and the way of life and the football? I mean, has he continued to impress? I assume he has. Otherwise, otherwise Spurs, I should say, Tottenham Hotspur wouldn't want him back, right? But he's how old is he? That's the thing. He's a grand old age now, isn't he? He's coming to the end of his football career, isn't he? Surely. Don't know.
Is he 38?
Could be.
I'm taking a guess. I'm going to guess. My link, actually. You're talking about link.
I think it's between. 35, 38, in between, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, towards the end of his career.
But this is the thing, Grem. It doesn't matter how old you are, because there used to be a goalkeeper some years ago called Brad Friedel. I think he played for Aston Villa in goal, and he played for a few other clubs as well. But Brad Friedel was a very good goalkeeper, and I think he was 40. I think he was gone 40 at the point of which he then retired. I think he came a presenter for a little while. I'm not sure what he's doing these days, but yeah. That is quite good, isn't it? A goalkeeper at the age of 40. Although goalkeepers tend to go a bit further than your outfield footballer when it comes to age over history. But even still, that's still a lot of effort in your body, you know, to be able to compete at the age of 40 on the football field at this level these days is quite something else. So Shell has said she's come into the chat, Graham, and she has said that Gareth Bale is already at Spurs.
Gareth who?
But that's what happens, you see, because when you tell the news 2 weeks later, or a week later...
How they're going.
Yeah, so one of the viewers, as Shell has said, that Gareth Bale is already at Spurs.
I think I mentioned at the time when we compiled the points.
Yeah.
That we would actually adapt. So we did actually know that.
Yeah, we did actually know that, but it didn't seem like we did now, did it? When we just done the show, we talked as if it was pretense as opposed to past tense. We should have spoken in past tense, Gwen. Never mind.
Well, we've had a few issues to contend with, haven't we?
Well, I don't know, Graham, have we? I wouldn't like to refer to it. Painful, isn't it? Isn't it, Graham? Isn't it? Graham, what are we doing next? Oh, I've just lost it all now. We've had a fantastic evening, though, folks.
Oh, we've had a brilliant evening. Well, the next point is we've got 2 pointless news to do next.
Yeah, we have. And I've got it. And with that, we know what's next, Graham.
Pointless news.
Right, yeah, pointless news. And is it me or you?
You, pointless news.
Of course it is. Right, so, pointless news.
Pointless news so well.
It's a bit of both, isn't it, Graham? Isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Right, this is an interesting one. Now, we all get old, Graham, don't we? That's part of life. You know, we all get old. And with that said, there are names and words or expressions that get used over time that the generation of the now are using and the generation of before don't know anything about. And I'll get to this point. Parents reveal words that their kids are using that leave them completely confused. Now, we've already had it, haven't we, in our day, Graham, when we were younger, when we said certain things in front of our parents or friends and at the time, and they would say, oh, wow, we used to use that 20 years ago. Yeah, it's like, you know, certain old phrases come back and we use them and we kind of regurgitate them. And then, for example, I could say the word epic to you, Graham, and you will know what I mean, but the word epic in today's modern society is not considered cool anymore. And so that was once upon a time a good thing, but now it's not. It's a bit granddad-like, isn't it? Or grandma-like nowadays. So you don't use epic in public. Unless you're me, that's Ben, or even that is the Grem. Or the Grem. But what am I getting to? Let's just be more specific, yeah? The phrase gram, now to me and you, Grem, the word gram is what? A weighing figure of speech, isn't it? A weight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, some people actually use that, don't they?
Yeah, and pawned.
Grandma.
Okay, pawned meaning, you know, to put something in to get something back, or investment on something.
But to get something back. I'm glad it's after 9 o'clock.
But you know, these two, it could be something else as well, but we won't go there. And it is public, so we won't touch on that, Grem. But we will say that the phrases gram and pawned leave mums and dads searching and scratching their heads as they try to decipher what on earth their offspring are talking about. It has emerged. That's not the only two phrases that we're confused at of the nowadays. There was, just to hold that thought just a moment, Graham, there was one other one that I heard in the last few years, which is called sick. And usually, the word sick usually means not feeling very well. No, it doesn't, does it? It means cool. It means
epic.
It means rock on. I don't even think you can say that anymore. Pucker.
Oh, mate, we're getting old.
Can you use the word pucker anymore? Don't think you can. So anyway, let me go further with this, because it said that researchers have polled 1,000 parents. I love that. Researchers have polled 1,000 parents. Will you ask, Graham? I mean, okay, 1,000's a pretty small number in the grand scheme of things, but where do these polls come from? How do they even get the data for this stuff? You know what I mean? It's been polled that. Well, did you have anything in the post? No. You know, so where did they get this from? Was it an online thing? Did you just happen to answer? Anyway, so researchers said they've polled 1,000 parents, and their children aged between 8 and 13 revealed 45% of their adults wish they could speak more confidentially to other generations.
Yeah, what you mean?
I mean confidently. Did I say confidentiality?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's where
confidently. They wish they could be more confident in other generations, Graham. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, they want to be able to understand better.
The lingo.
Yeah, to understand the lingo. I mean, the word gram is short for Instagram, isn't it?
It's what?
Instagram. Gram, so gonna go on gram later, you know, or later, whatever it is.
Yeah, do you know? But it's not the first time that we've seen that. You know, abbreviations for certain meanings, because we even see it in work, don't we? You know, companies nowadays, they use abbreviated words to refer to a larger description. And I can't stand it. It really, really is annoying, because it's and even then, in the business of which you might work in, you hear these phrases and you think, what on earth is that? You know, like, I remember using the word PPE. Now, we all know what PPE is, but do we? It's just been given that everyone knows what abbreviations are, like PPE. Well, I remember actually when I was a councillor, Graham, I remember having this conversation with somebody and they didn't even know what PPE was. And they asked me what PPE was. And I said, it's personal protective equipment. And I kind of thought to myself, why are we using these abbreviations? It's not a language. So why are we inventing it?
No, I think it's to do with the health and safety law.
But it is. It's because people don't want to use the words. They don't want to say the words personal protective equipment, do they? Because they're too. I don't know whether they think that they've got so many words that they can use in their lifetime, so they don't want to waste any. Just PPE. Just forget about it. Just don't even use it. Just use the words personal protective equipment. That speaks good English, doesn't it? Why do we have to use abbreviations?
Yeah, I understand. I mean, and one of the other words that children have been saying is hangry.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, what would you think that means, everyone? I mean, hangry. I mean, it basically means hungriness.
Well, it doesn't. It actually means two things, Graham. It means angry and hungry together. So, you know when, for example, I know this, actually, and I only know this because a teacher told me. Because I heard the word expressed to me indirectly when one of my children had experienced the symptoms of hangry. And it was told to the teacher, from the teacher to myself, that he was hangry today, and so blah, blah, blah. So then I realised, well, okay, makes sense. At first, when I first heard it, at the very moment I heard it, I thought it was hungry spelt differently. And of course, there's only one way to spell a word correctly. And so I thought, maybe that's what this is about. But it's not. It's abbreviations and expressions. And you know, funny enough, there was a word that over the last, 5 years, Graham, that was actually implemented into the Collins Dictionary. not necessarily Collins, it's just the dictionary in general. And words are being adapted into the dictionary, into the English language. And that's bizarre, isn't it? You know, how we can create a word and just add it in. I suppose we can, there's nothing wrong with that, as long as everybody knows what it is internationally, I suppose. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I totally agree, my friend.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Good, I'm glad of that, because I have no idea what I'm talking about, Graham. Well, no, but you know what I'm talking about, and I think the viewers know what I'm talking about. I just think we are living in an age now, aren't we, where everything's got to be abbreviated. FB, well, we know what FB is, don't we? It's Facebook. But why FB?
I remember when my middle child came home from school once, Alex, and she used the term KK. What's KK? What's that short for? I asked her. And she went, oh, okay. And I'm like, okay, KK, 2 letters, what's short about that? It's ridiculous. Oh my God, KK. So every now and then I put KK.
Well, it's okay to be okay, Graham. It's just not okay when you're not okay. You need to talk about it.
Yeah.
Innit?
Yeah.
But it is okay. You know, we do have a very strange society these days. But then you could say that about every generation. Every generation has new things. Do you remember when you look back at the age of the 60s and the 70s when you had people wearing flares? If you saw somebody wearing flares nowadays, you would probably look rather oddly at them, wouldn't you? Although probably not, because we are aware of the...
I think they're actually accepted now as an every now and then item of clothing. But we go through stages of having a style, then losing the style, and then having it back. But now flares seem to just come and go now, as and when, unless you're a little bit of a hippie, and like the outdoors and etc. Then you might want to be wearing flares all the time.
Yeah.
Pointless news.
Right, next topic, Graham. The world's dullest man. I mean, I'd like you to pick up on this if you don't mind. Is that okay?
Is that because I'm the dullest person?
No, because actually, I think we need to do this man some justice. If I say it, then it will be dull. And I really have nothing to say on the matter. But I think if you say it...
When I looked at this topic, everybody, I'll take on some of it, but you're going to have to inject as well into it. I've only made a couple of points because I literally find it totally pointless. Totally pointless. The world's dullest man. Now, do you all think that this guy's boring? He set up a roundabout appreciation society, and on it he has basically put up all these different roundabouts, talked about them, and he's actually travelled throughout the United Kingdom roundabout.
Right, but so why would you do that, Graham? I mean, there's dull, and then there's dull, isn't there?
I mean, I used to think to myself, why do people train what? You know, train spotting. Train spotting, why do they do that? But there's probably a lot more interest in train spotting. Oh, look, there's a roundabout. Oh, yeah.
But the roundabout doesn't move, Graham. It doesn't move, it just sits there. I mean, what's there to look at?
It's boring. It's boring, isn't it? It is actually pointless. Totally pointless. Probably one of the better stories. And obviously the young girl falling out the car window from doing that jack, which no one heard because my microphone apparently was not working.
Well, can I just say that actually the man, being the grand age of 68, has said he actually describes himself as being the dullest man in the world. I mean, that's something, isn't it? To actually admit publicly that you're the dullest man in the world must be something of an achievement.
It's got to be, mate. It's got to be. I mean, I just don't understand how. I mean, he admits himself that he's possibly the dullest man in the world, maybe in the universe. He just drive around looking at roundabouts. It's ridiculous.
But what's interesting, Grem, is actually what we have found is he has spiced things up recently. And you wouldn't believe this, because actually he has taken his involvement just that one step further. He has now created, a calendar dedicated to car parks. So he's moved on a bit, Grem. I mean, he is making inroads. Do you like that?
No, we're going to have to get one of those calendars then, won't we?
Yeah, I think, actually, it would be good, wouldn't it? We'll showpiece it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what we'll do, Grem. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll actually get this calendar and we will enable the viewers to see it. All right. Before beginning of another show, we will play each and every calendar year, month of the year, and we will allow you to see just what these car parks look like. Because after all, dull or not dull, it's worth seeing, right? I think.
Quite comical, really. It's probably it'd be quite a funny topic. Okay, it's been quite a lovely evening.
What?
I'm getting cold.
Talking about roundabouts, Grem? Yeah, I would agree. It has been rather pleasant, hasn't it? Could have talked about anything. We could have spoken about garden sheds, but we decided to talk about roundabouts and car parks. I mean, that is a late night television, that, isn't it? Really.
Can't wait to see this calendar on car park.
What else have we got, Grem?
Something else. Well, don't you read your text messages? But okay, we shall continue from point 16. Now, we're going to have to.
Well, please, Grem, far away. Rules are clear.
The most expensive royal tour to date recently was the South Africa Botswana tour, which involved the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, which cost around £250,000. That mainly was for flights and travelling to and from airport destinations for themselves and their entourage. The total cost of the monarchy travel promoting the UK and international awareness issues has mounted to £5.3 million. Does sound an awful lot, but the money that the royal family are able to bring into the country through tourism is that figure here, 5.3 million, is the drop in the ocean compared to what they bring in revenue for visitors to the country. The planned trip did not actually go to plan for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, even though it had taken months in preparation by their staff and palace representation to basically be for the plan to be ignored and for the Duchess and Prince to turn the whole event into a media show to do with shouting down the media and causing some negativities there. They recorded an explosive TV documentary in which Meghan basically did say that the royal family were not caring and they never asked how to support. Unbelievable, isn't it? And then they wonder why they had the attitude that why they received the attitude from the majority of the British public.
The general public, yeah.
And, when you just go around and say things like that, what a load of toss.
Well,
it's ridiculous.
Well, on the next topic, which is similar to the topic we were on, Graham, I just want to bring into, if I can, the subject around Meghan and Harry, because it's been requested of Harry to stand up to Meghan, isn't it? One would suggest needs to happen. What do you think about that?
He seems to be like one of those nodding toys that you get having in the car, and it sort of nods with the car. If you notice that the documentaries that they do, it mainly seems to be Meghan doing the chatting, and every now and then, Prince Harry will basically come in with like a princely way in discussing wokeness, if you'd like to say. That's the sort of impression that I get myself from that as well. But yes, he's apparently been asked by the palace, I'm not sure how high that goes, or if it's yet again the media doing a little bit of twisting. But I think even if the media are twisting the story slightly, I do believe that something probably has been said to Harry. As everyone knows, the royals are not meant to be political, and they should be adhering to that, and they haven't. I mean, they turned in the previous comment. They turned in their royal tour into basically a political and mouthpiece for their direction that they want to take. It's unacceptable behaviour. And yes, I do feel personally that he needs to step up and, as they say, grow a pair and, say something.
You sound like Jeremy Kyle now, Graham.
Yeah, but they've got to, where's the respect that he had for his grandmother?
I know.
Just gone, chucked into a bin.
I know, Graham. Well, this brings us to our final topic, Graham, and I'm really sorry to have to talk about this. I think the whole entire nation, Graham, are afraid to actually even want to hear this. But I will just say it as it is. The UK national debt, Graham, has hit records of 2.024 trillion, Graham. I mean, that is outrageous, isn't it?
Lots of money. And that's mainly caused, though, that influx, the way it has developed that way, is because of the pandemic. And no one actually knows how much more money is going to have to be added to that figure, because no one knows how this virus is operating fully yet. So if money needs to be pulled into a certain area to safeguard the people, then it's got to be done. And it's the way that the money is pulled back that is a concern for a lot of people. Taxation. As long as they do so sparingly and not so harshly, then it probably will be accepted. Coming back eventually with heavy taxation, not going to reflect well on any political party.
No. Well, it also has been said that 35.9 billion was spent in August, just August alone, and that's not including. And that's not including some of the other months of which we're referring to, such as March, April, May, June, July. So that's quite significant. I mean, 2.024 trillion national debt, Graham. That's massive. We need to work hard, folks. We need to get ourselves back on track. We need to get that money back into our purses, into our treasury.
We all need to do our bit. It's all about helping the the country out. You know, we've
Exactly.
got to do our bit. It means
Exactly.
cutting back a little bit. It means cutting back, keeping your hygiene up to a high standard. Then that's what needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
That so the requirements in hand washing and keeping clean, then we've got a better chance at keeping the figure not increasing.
Shh.
Yeah. Well, with that said, Grem, I think now it is time for us to say our farewells and thank everybody in the world for viewing the Ben&Grem Show this evening. It's been great to have us back, isn't it, Grem? I can say at least. I can't speak for everybody, but I can speak for me. Grem, wouldn't you agree, though? It's been fun.
I do. I agree.
We have had a few technical issues this evening, but it happens. It happens.
Yeah, we did have a few technical issues. My end has been a nightmare with the system that I'm running, and
But it's good to be back.
Grey hairs. But it's been lovely coming back this evening, even though it's been a long wait. Stuff at 7:30. When did we come live? About
8:15. I think it was. Yeah, I think it was.
So,
well, anyway, it's been good.
Apologies, everyone. Right, 40 minutes. So
Never
thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
And like, follow, and share.
Follow, like, and subscribe.
That's it. And Ben, thank you so much for being my fellow host. It's been appreciated.
Thank you. Well, that's it from me, from Ben, and from him. That's Grem.
Yeah.
It's good night. We'll see you next time.
From me.
You've been watching the Ben&Grem Show, and we'll see you soon.
Good night, everybody. Take care.
Yeah.